In this WrestleTalk news, Bray Wyatt may never return to wrestling, Candice LeRae is gone from WWE, my review of SmackDown, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos, because Randy Andy Datson has now earned the right to host the WrestleTalk news videos after his outstanding performances across the Randy Games. Stay tuned for Randy, coming soon. Also, buy your Randy Games t-shirt right now at WrestleShop.com, link in the description.
Support WrestleTalk!
It's been almost a year since Bray Wyatt was released from WWE, and fans of Wyatt have been waiting for him to return to wrestling in some form. Fans waited for his 90-day non-compete to expire because after that, we'll get him back. We got news of him filming movies instead, and fans thought, okay, but after that, we'll get him back. And since then, there's been nothing. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was noted by Dave Meltzer that Wyatt was making somewhere around $4 million per year while he was in WWE before he got cut, making him one of the highest paid people on the roster. There have also been reports of Wyatt not returning to wrestling simply because his asking price is too high, which is a reason many speculated we've not seen him in AEW so far. But now a report from WrestlingNews.co has claimed that a close friend of Wyndham Rotunda's, Wyatt's real name, has told them that they wouldn't be surprised if he never came back to wrestling, as he's very good with money. Last month, Rotunda said on Instagram that his health is great and that he misses wrestling, but didn't say whether he would be returning at any point. But is this love of wrestling enough for him to return, or will he work on other projects? We'll simply have to wait and see. Someone else we've been waiting to see is Johnny Gargano, who left WWE late last year after his contract expired and hasn't been seen on TV since, with him noting that he hears the crowds and will return at some point. He also has taken some time away to welcome his first child into the world, and his wife, Candice LeRae, has now also left WWE. Fightful Select reported that LeRae was moved to the alumni section of WWE.com, and they were able to confirm that her WWE contract has also expired. The report also mentioned that there was absolutely no ill will between Gargano and LeRae and WWE, with them putting over how helpful Gargano was in particular in helping put over new talent on his way out and signing a short extension to make sure everything went smoothly, and that the door was open for both of them to return to the company should they wish to. This seems like something that could genuinely happen, as Gargano especially has been quite vocal about his love for the company, and now with LeRae also in the mix, that's quite the batch of free agents going right now. One other person that has left WWE recently, though this one through release rather than contract expiration, is Malcolm Bivens, who recently spoke about the scenario and posted a video of it to Twitter, which I would highly recommend watching all of. It's very funny. As part of the video, Bivens confirmed that he was indeed offered a new contract in February that he turned down, which is what reports had mentioned. However, other reports noted that he was in talks to manage Omos on the main roster, which he shot down, saying he hadn't heard anything about that, but he had been spoken to about the main roster. He also said that if you want to stay in the company, get transferred to NXT UK because Nick Khan has forgotten that exists. He's a funny man. Go watch that video. And now, quick hot tag to Ollie.
Here at WrestleTalk, we are super excited to announce our biggest offer ever! That's because for a limited time only, the digital edition of the critically acclaimed WrestleTalk magazine now costs just £1. £1! That's a massive 80% saving on its normal sale price. Really? Are you guys crazy, I hear you say? At that price, maybe we are. Or maybe it's just because we think it's so good, once you've read a copy, you'll stay a reader of it 444 life. We're super proud of the WrestleTalk magazine and truly believe that it has some of the very best long-form wrestling content available anywhere on the planet. So if you want to be that person who always knows that little bit more than most about the inner workings of the business, or to find out the real news behind the news, buy the WrestleTalk magazine digital edition today for only £1. £1! Or just £10 for a 1-year digital subscription. Plus, each month, digital readers receive their copy 1 full week before anyone else in the world. Visit WrestleShop.com right now to get your copy. WrestleTalk magazine. You can always spot a reader.
And now it's time for my review of SmackDown. In about 5 minutes, but probably longer, let's be real. The show began with Charlotte Flair versus Aaliyah, and I must say there's quite a few positives to take out of this. Starting with a match, it's a segment that furthers the champions feud without involving the other person, which can be a bit of a crutch in WWE, in that every wrestler in a feud has to always interact with that person in some way, though that would have been better not in the go-home week. It makes sense after Aaliyah didn't tap soon enough for Charlotte last week. That's good. Before the match, Charlotte cut a promo. That's bad. Charlotte cut her tightest of 5s in her opening promo, and then made Aaliyah look stupid by asking her to come closer, so Aaliyah did, only to get punched in the face. Now, in true SmackDown fashion, here's a quick recap of a thing you just watched. It's a segment that furthers the champion's feud without involving the other person. Yeah, forget all that, because here comes Ronda Rousey, and the two had a really good pull-apart brawl, which was a solid go-home angle. After this, Sasha Banks faced Shayna Baszler, with Sasha playing big mind games on Baszler, calling her a git via headband. Clearly, she managed to overcome these odds, though, as Baszler rolled up Banks with Natalya's help before the babyfaces, featuring an injured Naomi, still stood tall. So, who went over here? The Usos cut a promo backstage that said they're going to win at Backlash. RK Bro cut a promo backstage that said they're going to win at Backlash. And then we had another killer go-home angle next, which was Happy Talk, where Corbin said Moss sucked, and then Moss cut some jokes on the Titantron, and then he came out to the ring and did some more jokes, and then Corbin walked away. Buy our show! Who the could possibly care about Moss versus Corbin when the sum total of their entire feud is the second person on this show to cut their Type 5 on their opponent? This was a bad segment. And I'll echo what Tempest said on the SmackDown podcast review last week. Who the hell is booking Happy Talk every single week? Seriously, can we get a week without it? Please? After a recap of Drew Gulak getting dumped on for the past few weeks, he faced a mystery opponent next who turned out to be Walter. I've been pretty critical of all the changes they've made to Walter, including his name, which we don't talk about, as well as his music, presentation, attire, and removing Fabian Eichner for seemingly no reason, but I don't know whether it was Gulak's selling of "oh no, I'm about to die" or not, but I still get excited when I watch Walter come down to the ring knowing he's about to kill the person he's facing. And kill him he did! This was probably the best Walter has looked on the main roster so far, and hopefully he can get something a bit more meaningful to do soon. This match also started with USA chants, by the way, just in case you thought we were in the 80s and not 2022. Backstage, Shinsuke Nakamura said he hasn't forgotten about Roman Reigns, and when the time is right, he'll get his payback. This was good, and finally, they referenced what actually happened with Roman a few weeks back without it being completely dropped. Sami Zayn was listening into this promo, and he then went to Paul Heyman and told him that Shinsuke was planning on attacking Reigns, so on behalf of Reigns, he'll take out Shinsuke for him. I really like this character development for Sami, essentially just trying to win Roman's approval and become a de facto member of the bloodline because he wants his protection. It makes perfect sense to me. It keeps the Shinsuke plate spinning while not having him directly involved with the bloodline as well. This all gets a thumbs up from me. Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on Patreon, Double L Liam Leonard, and Abominable Michael Abbott. You can get your own shout out and loads of extra bonus content by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Drew McIntyre cut a promo backstage that said he's going to win at Backlash, and that he should kick Roman's head off his shoulders tonight. And then we had Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus The New Day in a tables match, which, fun fact, was the first tag team tables match in SmackDown history to not feature a member of the Dudley Boys. Isn't that something? Thanks to @WWE Stats on Twitter for that one. This match was also a bunch of fun, with the pace being really fast throughout and the tornado tag nature of the bout really aiding it. There was a huge dive from Kofi through Sheamus through a barricade, and when the match looked like it was about to end, Butch finally revealed where he'd been the whole time. Under the ring. He attacked Kingston and Woods, Woods got put through a table, and Holland and Sheamus won. Ignoring the fact that WWE move arenas between shows and the fact that Butch couldn't have been under the ring the entire time, this was a lot of fun. And it was really nice to see Woods get some spotlight to shine once again because, in case you forgot, he's really good. Sami Zayn asked Adam Pearce for a match with Shinsuke Nakamura on behalf of the Bloodline for next week, but Pearce instead made the match for right now. I am so confused as to what Adam Pearce's powers are. He can't make matches until he can. He can't change matches until he can. Matches aren't made official until they are. Adam Pearce continues to be an enigma. Lacey Evans told us the final chapter of her backstory, which again was a great promo, noting the various family members that lost their battles to addiction and adding at the end of her promo that she was going to become SmackDown Women's Champion. Then it cut to the ring. Samantha Irvin introduced Lacey Evans to the ring and said Lacey has requested that everyone show the proper respect and applaud her as she came out. Wait, what? I need a second. Hold on. Let me... Hang on. Let me just... Hold on. What the f was that? We then got Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which was decent, but this is Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura. It's a shame because we know they're capable of so much more. Sami won via countout here as he haluva kicked Shinsuke onto the barricade on the outside, then ran into the ring on a 9 count. This should feel like a legit victory. He hit his finisher and made it so Shinsuke couldn't get back into the ring in time, but it was played up like a cheap victory and it felt weird. And after being promoted the whole night, we got RK Bro and Drew McIntyre going face to face with the Bloodline, like they did on Raw. RK McBro all began by acknowledging various things and bless Riddle for being there, because if he wasn't, I don't think this would have worked, but thankfully, it really did. The Bloodline interrupt and they have a quick brawl with the babyfaces standing tall, each hitting their finisher on a different member of the Bloodline, and that was that. I'd call it a solid go-home angle, but it was the second brawl go-home angle of the show, and it wasn't as good as the first one, and it also wasn't as good as their brawl on Raw either. So this didn't really add much that we hadn't seen, and it was a bit anticlimactic after being promoted through the whole show. Overall though, this was better than what SmackDown has been lately. There were at least attempts at go-home angles for the bigger matches at Backlash, even though one of them was Happy Talk, and we got a real fun match in the middle of this show. This show gets a 3 out of 5. Tempest is off today, so there's no review of Rampage, but you can catch myself and SP3 reviewing both SmackDown and Rampage later today on the WrestleTalk podcast channel for our full thoughts. And if you missed Tempest, check out his awesome new video essay about why he thinks CM Punk's AEW run is the best of his career.
But lo and behold, Charlie McAvoy Punk has proven me a fool for being skeptical, because this man has been having the best run of his career in AEW, and I know that statement is going to ruffle some truffles, but really, I've just been genuinely enjoying the work that CM Punk has been doing since his return to wrestling, and would like to provide my case as to why this run has clobbered the most ass of all the runs he has had.